Hey babe, welcome back to the Turned On Woman podcast. This is your host, Lauren Schaefer. I am so excited that you are here today because this topic today for me, talking about soulmate energy, this is something that I'm going to share with you kind of the evolution of how I came about this. But recently, I just had this connecting the dots and how we create the soulmates in our life. So let's just get right into it because I know you probably want to find a soulmate. So many people say, I want to find my soulmate. And I don't think that they truly know what that means. So if you've said that before, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you think a soulmate is? And I think most people equate it to a deep connection. I'm going to find my soulmate and it's going to be like we've known each other forever. And yeah, that is totally possible. That is what a soulmate feels like. But most people are not at the level of depth of connection with themselves in order to get there. So they just are like, yeah, I want my soulmate. But they can't get there if they're not truly in touch with their own soul. So for quite a few years now, so I became single at 30. That was when my major relationship that I kind of thought he would be, the one that I would get married and have kids with. That's when we ended things just because it was out of alignment. It wasn't lighting either of us up. So then I dabbled in dating a little bit for about 9 months after that. And then I went single for an entire year. And I spent time just to myself being like, I don't want the influence of men in my life. I want to build this relationship to myself. I didn't know what I was actually doing at the time, which is why I teach what I teach now, because I realized, all of the things that I was embodying and practicing and working on and still have, embodied and practiced because over the last couple of years, because that was that year-long time to myself ended 2 years ago, but it started 3 years ago. So when we rewire our brain from our masculine conditioning to all the rules that we have learned in life and being this good girl and being the woman who is, she's operating in a way that she wants to be loved and accepted and validated. And it's not typically, to a certain extent, everybody's a little bit different. Mine was deep. I'm talking and this is why we call it survival mode. I was just going to say survival level deep of not knowing how to create safety on my own and truly kind of attaching and clinging to things and trying to do things, attaching and clinging to those things from the outside and trying to do things in the right way because I was so afraid of being wrong. And now, as I've practiced rewiring these beliefs, which then turn into emotions, and liberating these emotions through my expression and how I show up in the world, that is what has truly changed me into the woman that I am today, the woman who has come to know how to turn on her energy. When I took that time for myself to take a look at, okay, what are the ways in which I'm not showing up for myself and how do I actually want to be operating? I had to challenge my entire perspective on the way I saw things, it takes courage to do that. So I know that you're probably in the middle of the process of doing that for yourself as well. It's not easy. And I see you in that because it is challenging. It is scary to change something that we've always thought to be true, the way we've always operated, because the reason why it's scary and it feels scary is because it requires us to get out of our comfort zone. It requires us to embrace the unknown. And it requires us to do things differently than we've always done. We have to give up this layer and level of safety that we've created and be like, wait, but what if I did it my way? And could that be okay? And will that feel good to me? And will that work out? And Can I validate myself in that versus needing to do something the way that someone else did? So like, needing to think that I need to be married by a certain age in order to be worthy and things like that. So when you can start to change that perspective, you start to build this new relationship with yourself. And I talk about, this is about embracing yourself as a woman, because it's really turning on your feminine energy. Because when we grow up in a masculine society, our dominant vibration becomes, our dominant way of being becomes this overachiever, this doer, this go get the validation, strategy, analyzing, competing, for beauty standards and things like that. Oh my gosh. And the thing is that society wants us that way because it makes us less powerful. And this is why energy equals power. So when I say power, it's not just a fluffy word, it's your energy. So when you're able to reclaim your feminine energy, you're actually making yourself more powerful, because now you're able to think as a sovereign woman. You're able to think independently. You're able to trust yourself, and you don't need the things from the outside that society says that you need this in order to, make you lose 10 pounds. You need this in order to, you need to even you need this in order to make a man, find you attractive or whatever. It's like, no, actually. So when we take back our feminine energy, and if you haven't looked at my 5 feminine energy essentials, you can get it on my socials profiles, whatever. Anyway, and validation is a huge one. Building an internal validation versus an external validation. Really showing up for yourself, celebrating yourself, knowing that what you choose to do and who you choose to be is perfectly okay, or is perfectly actually the way to be. And you get to change that at any time, because the only thing that's inevitable in this life is change, always. But we cling to the safety of predictability. And often we're creating our realities based on memories of the past, because we feel safe within that predictability of knowing how something happened in the past. And now we're going to try to almost manipulate the present moment or make an assumption about what happened in the past. Therefore, now I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to do it the same, versus meeting the present moment and meeting where you're at right now, letting go of that safety and predictability. Okay. And meeting the present moment, being your authentic self, all of this is about building relationship to yourself, honoring yourself, knowing yourself, not needing to show up as someone else. And this is such a practice. Like I said, I spent a year fully single, embracing my singleness, because I was working on validating myself, celebrating myself, creating my standards and desires, and my boundaries for myself, letting go of the narratives of I need to control the outcome of how am I going to be married, with kids on the way by the time, X age. Letting go of all of that takes practice. And I've been expanding into more and more of these beliefs that support I am turning on my energy. I am more magnetic. I continue to attract men who are more and more in alignment with me, because I continue to claim more and more of my desires, because I'm willing to put myself in uncomfortable situations, aka just being vulnerable and showing up to the dating process for growth, knowing that a man is a reflection of me. So let's get into this soulmate-ness. As I said, many people are out here saying they want a soulmate, but they don't really know what they're saying. And it just solidified for me what this actually really means. So at first, after I took this year off of dating, I started to date men organically, didn't get on a dating app. It's so funny. The day I was going to get on a dating app, I was telling a woman, I was like, yeah, so I think my single hiatus is over. I think I'm going to get on a dating app. And she's like, well, what kind of man are you looking for? And this was not someone I would even normally talk to. I was at a co-working meetup. I kind of knew this woman. And I told her what I was looking for. And she was like, oh my gosh, I know someone for you. It was like the universe interjected and was like, nope, don't get on the dating apps. And And so she was like, I know someone who sounds like it would be a good fit. And I was like, okay, great. So I went on a few dates with this man, and I was completely unattached. I was open to the experience. I was willing to be more myself than ever because I had built so much of this internal validation within myself. I had turned on my expression. I was now wanting to be so fully authentic myself that I wanted to repel the wrong men. This is what your feminine expression is all about. But I just wanted to like love who I am being. I call it being obsessed with yourself. Again, one of the 5 feminine energy essentials. And so as I was dating this man, I was really wanting to learn and grow through this situation. And then that only lasted, I think, about like 2 or 3 weeks. We had great communication. We just started to realize we did have our differences and we weren't aligned on the things that we wanted. This is actually the time when I was really claiming that I was going to move to Mexico. So I told him like I would like to spend time in a foreign country, and he was on a different path as far as like creating a family and things. And I was like, awesome. Like I'm claiming my desire. I'm showing up in that. And it's giving me redirection, like his quote unquote rejection, let's say, or just our misalignment, I would call it more so that, gave me a redirection, a confirmation of, okay, follow your desire. So I continued to follow my desire and continued to date more and more aligned men with, I would see like, oh, okay, like he has great communication. Oh, okay, like, you know, he's showing me this that I'm wanting in a relationship. Like one thing I claimed when I came to Mexico was I really want a man who will show me that he can be my friend first. I don't want to, and that was actually a boundary I was setting for myself at the same time. And so, but boom, like I got a little bit of a test right away and I said, nope, I'm not going there, held the boundary. And then right after this man walked into my life, he was purely my friend, didn't try anything, didn't try to push things further along, treated me really well. And then after about a month, we were like, hey, like we feel aligned here. Like, should we explore this further? All this is to say, I've known for a while that every single person that I date is a soulmate, because every single man that I date is meant to show me more of myself. And when I get to know more of myself, more of this soul, inner beingness gets lit up, comes to the surface, because your soul is your desires, is your heart's desires. And since everyone's a reflection of you, then everyone is actually a soulmate. And this even goes for non-romantic relationships. So, you know, you have friends that feel like soulmates. You're like, oh, they just get me. Yeah, and it's because you're connecting on something that you feel really connected in within yourself. And therefore, they're reflecting that back to you. So you're like, wow, we're just like so connected on this thing. This person is my soulmate. This girlfriend is my soulmate. Like, yes, because you're so deeply connected to that part within yourself. It's just a reflection of you. So your soul has a vibration. And if you listen to Abraham Hicks, they call this your inner being. And your inner being is pure love, light, joy, happiness. It's the highest frequency on the emotional scale. If you're not familiar with the emotional scale, it's like the high frequencies are at the top, and then they go to more of the neutral frequencies, and then they go to the lower frequencies, anger, shame, guilt, things like that. And we want to alchemize and transmute those lower frequencies. We want to become aware of the stories that we have that are keeping us in those guilt and shame and anger stories, or frequencies. We want to be aware of the stories that are keeping us in those frequencies so that we can raise them, so that we don't make them the whole truth. Because actually, those lower emotional frequencies are showing us, hey, something's out of alignment. The reason why we feel pain or resistance is because we have a belief that is not in alignment with the soul belief, inner knowing, frequency, and vibration. That's what creates the resistance. That's what creates the negative emotion, the lower vibrations. So the vibration of your soul is a high frequency. And the more that you can create your dominant vibration to be a high frequency, one that is excited about the possibilities that are coming your way, excited about the man that is coming into your life, excited about whatever else in your life. This translates to all the areas of your life, work, friendships, health, money, anything else. Like, your soul is this high vibration, and you want your dominant vibration of what you're thinking on a day-to-day basis and what you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. You want that vibration to be closer to the frequency of your soul. Therefore, higher vibration, therefore turned on energy. Versus if you have a day-to-day vibration that is dominant and stuck in your conditioning and is telling you that I need to work hard to get what I want, and that feels like a struggle, and there's so much pressure to be, married with kids on the way by now, and why you're comparing yourself and feeling bad for yourself that all your friends are having babies and getting married right now. Like, if you're staying stuck in that area, you're not magnetic. Your vibration is low. You are not turned on. You're constantly going to be competing with yourself, fighting with yourself, like in this lower vibration that is the opposite of your soul. So when you're in that, if you're in that more survival mode versus thriving and knowing and trusting your soul, when you're in that survival mode, dating's going to feel like a struggle. And you're probably not going to meet people that feel like a soulmate because you're not even the frequency of your soul. So you need to be the frequency of your own soul, closer to your own soul, in order to even feel that depth and connection with another, because another person is just a reflection of you. This is why every person, every man that you date, every date is data, and every relationship becomes a whole lot of data. It's like, what is this relationship showing me? Where am I still not claiming my wants, needs, and desires? What boundaries and standards do I want to put in place that I'm not? Or, and also like what desires, okay, this person, doesn't have great communication. I have a desire for good communication. Okay, that becomes my standard. I voice it to this person that this is the type of communication that I enjoy. And therefore, sorry, sir, if you can't meet that, then this isn't going to work for me. And when you set your standard, you set what you're available for. But if you're like, I really want, the outcome, I really want to be married with kids, so I better just like stick with this guy. Well, now you're settling and you're not truly claiming your truest desire. Okay. So you are the one creating the soulmate connection. You're the one creating your ability to feel and be with a soulmate. So actually, a soulmate is actually literally just a feeling, because you're creating that knowingness within yourself, more of who you are, your authentic self, not living by your conditioning and the stories of who you need to be or how you need to show up as a woman, or like, I need to be appropriate. I need to not swear because a man won't like me. But if that's your personality, if you're spicy and fiery and sassy, there's going to be a man out there that's a match for you. But if you're suppressing that part of yourself, you're not being your most authentic version of yourself, it's going to be pretty hard to find the soulmate that makes you feel liberated in that expression, because you have to claim it for yourself first, because a man's just a reflection of you. So again, the soulmate is this feeling of knowing your own soul and being able to be seen and expressed as your soul version of yourself. Because guess what? Your soul version is just your most authentic self. It's your most authentic self when you peel back all the layers that you tried to be in order to create the safety and receive the love and be accepted. We created those from a very young age. When you peel back those layers and you start to reclaim yourself, which for women is reclaiming your feminine energy, is reclaiming this expression of yourself, is reclaiming your inner power, and knowing is validating yourself, knowing that you're worthy and deserving regardless of how much you do, how much effort you put in, all of those things. that's when you can attract, when you peel back those layers and you start to express your authentic self, that's when you can attract from this authentic soul level place. And it feels like depth and connection. You are creating your soulmate by being closer to your own soul, by creating that relationship with your soul. So we know that your most important relationship in this life is the relationship to yourself. And then second most important relationship is this connection to your soul. Other people will call it God, source, universe, higher spirit, higher self, spirit, whatever you want to call it, is this relationship to this higher power, or an inner knowing. And that has a frequency, and you need to spend time in that frequency, which is a relaxed, not forcing, not trying to get and to cling to and to attach for safety, but it's knowing that I'm safe being me. And that takes so much permission, because we fear rejection like no other. Because we think it means something about our value and our worthiness when it doesn't. That's a story that just doesn't need to be there. But as women, we are reclaiming our worthiness, our deservingness, in order to vibrate and become the frequency of our soul, of this knowingness, of this larger part of ourselves that we're connected to. Again, God, source, spirit, universe, higher self, whatever you want to call it. It's your job to reclaim that part of yourself and to build a relationship to that version of yourself, and to do the work, the healing, to uncover almost like this most childlike version of yourself. How does she want to express? Who is she? What are her desires? Or what are you telling yourself that you can't have because of XYZ? What are you telling yourself? Like, where are the limits that you're putting on your own power and expression of who you want to be, because you want to just be loved and accepted? It's like, what if you were going to be loved and accepted even more for being your truest, authentic self? Like that is so exciting. And I have felt this every single time that I date someone. I get my desire expanded, because we learn through contrast. We learn through what we don't want, and which births our desire into what we do want. And then our job is to match our beliefs with our desire, to know that we are worthy and deserving of that desire, and it's on its way. And that the more that we allow ourselves to relax into and be and own that desire, boom, it shows up. So, for example, I moved to Mexico. The first desire I had was, I want this man who is going to be my friend first. I had this boundary put into place. This was my masculine showing up for me. That my desire was, okay, I want to be, respected by a man. And therefore the boundary I was going to put into place in order to get that was, okay, I want a man to show me that he could be my friend first. Boom, got it. Started dating that man. Things were going well. We started to talk kind of more about how we want to treat a relationship, what feels good for us in a relationship. I told him I have this desire of I want to have this great connection and intimacy with a partner. I want to treat sex like sacred sex, sacred sexuality, and go to tantra retreats and things like that. And he was a little ooh, that was a limitation for him. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I think since we're not aligned here, I think we should go our own ways. And I was like, okay, I'm going to claim this for myself. This is really what I want in a relationship, how I want to relate to a man. And then I dated a few more men. And about 6 months later, boom, this wonderful man walked into my life, pursued me, and we had the most in-depth, sacred intimacy that I had experienced to date. No, to date then, not now. Up until then. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. I learned so much else through that relationship as well too, though, how much I could be loved and all the things. And then The thing was, we were misaligned on our future vision. And I knew that I wanted to have kids and get married one day. And I also want to like build a business and I want to grow with my partner. And he was already at a point in his life where he'd built the businesses and he'd already had a family and kids and he was kind of chilling. Maybe, to say it nicely. And so I was like, okay, I have to let this go no matter how good this feels, because I trust in my desire so much that I know I'm worthy and deserving of my desire. I took time for myself to grieve that relationship. That was the first 6 months of this year. Grieve that relationship because the depth and connection there was so deep and it brought up such beautiful awareness of my own attachments. And then I was able to transmute, change, alchemize that grief and that energy. And I was all of a sudden I continued to pour and pour and pour into myself, to overflow, to show up for myself over 6 months. And then I was just sitting at a cafe one day, doing my thing, playing in my feminine energy, being a feminine invitation, as I always talk about. And I struck up a conversation with someone who I sort of knew, but he didn't know anything about me. And so I started chatting with him about online business because I knew he ran an online business. And we had a really great conversation, and then I just let it go. And then he found me, continued to pursue me, continued to ask me to connect and meet up and get to know each other. And the next thing I knew, like, we've now been dating for a month. And that to me feels so expansive. It's like I wanted the man who was building things. We have the same vision of wanting a family and kids. Is he the one? I have no idea. Like, the thing is that the one could be anyone. It feels like a soulmate. It feels like, someone that it's easy to connect with because I'm connected so deeply with myself, because I'm connected so deeply with my own internal vision and desire. And we're still in the very much the early stages of like getting to know each other and like working out the kinks and like, is this going to be something sustainable for the long run? I have no idea. But this is the point of dating, is to expand into more of your desires, to claim more of yourself, to build this deeper connected relationship to yourself so that you can have someone that feels like a soulmate, someone who wants to grow and evolve with you. So dating is for growth. And you're creating through your own awareness and your own relationship to yourself, you're creating the ability to meet a soulmate. And by following your desires, I talk about the feminine being desire-led, also one of the 5 feminine energy essentials. The feminine, as you're leading with your desire, literally those last 3 relationships that I talked about, I don't use a dating app. I meet men in person because I go where I feel good. They all have been through activities, volleyball, salsa, and the last one was a guy at a cafe. But even there were some small dating stints in between with a couple of men that were like a couple of weeks, just going on dates, getting to know each other, finding the alignment, finding the misalignments. And even those were organic, met in person, out and about. I chatted up someone at like a shared dinner table. My friend was like, yeah, I have a cousin in town. And I was like, sweet, I would love to meet him. So it's like little things like that. When you're following your desire and your interest, the man appears. But if you're denying your desire, you're denying alignment, you're denying that soul level connection because you're denying getting to know yourself and expanding yourself into your truest desire, which is your inner knowing. Your inner knowing, it's your truest, most authentic expression. That's one of the very highest frequencies as well, being your authentic self, that is your soul. So remember, a man is a reflection of you. Your soulmate is a reflection of you knowing yourself on a soul level. And again, you're at soul level is love, joy, happiness. It's relaxed. It's not forcing. It's being able to be and not do all the time. Doing is good, but when it's from a place of this aligned, most people call it like aligned action. It's also like aligned desire. Oh, I desire to like be out and about, and I just like want to be in a coffee shop today, and that would feel so good and just feels expansive and exciting. And that's where I like to journal and I feel good there. Okay, I'm going to go there. That was literally me the day I met the man that I'm currently dating now. And it's like when you spend time in those frequencies, love, happiness, joy, showing up for yourself, building that relationship to yourself, you're treating yourself like you would want a partner to treat you. So when you spend time in that energy, you are going to naturally attract a man into your life who's going to be reflective of the type of partner that you want to be with. And he's going to feel like a soulmate because you're following your soul's desire. Okay, babe. So good. Let me know what resonates for you about this soulmate conversation. DM me on Instagram. I want to hear from you, hear what landed for you, hear what made you rethink how you think about a soulmate. So my DMs are always open. DM me at Lauren Likes It Like That. And I'll be back with another episode for you soon so that you can continue to turn on your energy and be a turned on woman who attracts who she is being.